Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday and welcome to a new week. New week, new money, as we always say. Welcome to the Spin Zone. I'm your host, Spin Doc, with you here on behalf of the Daily Bread Network on YouTube. If you aren't yet, please go be a subscriber, go sign up. We really do appreciate the love, helps us get our stuff out there, and you get instant access to all the content that we produce across all sports. If you're not already, please follow me at Spin Doc Sports on X. Give the video a like, give it a share, especially if you do it on X. I'll go over this at the end of the show, but remember, today is day 2 of the free contest. Today is day 2 of the free contest, giving away a free 2-week subscription to Win the Day VIP. That has just been racking up the profits, racking up the wins. And so if you, just to give everybody a reminder, all you have to do, go over this at the end as well, is all you have to do is the show posts that are both from myself and Sosa Picks to our X accounts, like and repost both. 1 entry per like, 1 entry per repost. You get up to a maximum of 4 per day. That would be from the Saturday one, so you can still go back and do it now. It's just have to get it done by Thursday. And from today, tomorrow, Wednesday, I'll put all the names in a random online name generator, name picker. We will draw live 10 names on Thursday for a free 2-week subscription, 2-week membership to Win the Day VIP with all of my top plays, all analysis, everything. I'm actually starting to post NFL content now. Mini camps, there's a lot of reports coming out from mini camps for guys who can help your fantasy team and guys who are flying under the radar. There's actually 2 in particular that I've been talking about ad nauseum in VIP already. One is in the AFC, one is in the NFC, and they are guys who I personally think, especially if you draft early, that you can get them at fantastic value. And they are 2 guys that I am targeting often. So it's not just MLB. We got NFL coming up. We have all kinds of I got stuff going on for the NBA Finals. We got it all. So just go ahead, and all you got to do is give a repost and a like, 1 entry each. I'll go over this again at the end of the show. All right. So over the weekend, what did we learn? What did we learn from Saturday and Sunday? See, unlike some maybe other people, and I am completely transparent about how things go, about how things are going. So I put it up in lights when we were winning 13 in a row. And as you can see, if you watched on Saturday, you'll see that number at the bottom is smaller than what it was when I posted on Saturday. It wasn't a great weekend. Whole bunch of hooks, whole bunch of things, but either way, they're L's. And as I told VIP yesterday, try as I might, while we do win at 58 to 60% on a regular basis, as much as we try to make that happen every day, it doesn't happen. So number one, first and foremost, from a lessons learned perspective, is that you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to be honest with people who you're talking to. So, I mean, it sounds weird to say that winning at 57.6% and up 15.73 units for the year is something to say, gosh darn it about, but when you were a little bit over 60%, yeah, gosh darn it. And the bottom line is that when you do have, so in baseball, in any sports betting ever, streakiness happens. Streaks happen. You go on win streaks, you go on lose streaks. I talked about this when we had won 13 in a row, is that you're never as bad as your worst losing streak. You're never as good as your best winning streak. It's how you finish in the aggregate. And being at 58 to 60% over 4 years running doing this would tell me that I'm doing something right. However, streaks happen, man. They do happen. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is just, from a mental perspective for anybody, what to do when that occurs. Number one is don't panic. For sure, don't panic. Don't panic. Don't chase. don't look at, okay, I didn't even look at any of these teams that are playing in the late games, but I'm down 2 units from the early game, so I just have to get it back. No, you don't. No, you don't. I've talked about this before. There's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of other things to bet on every single day, every single night, every single time of the week. So sometimes the best way to do it is to just put it down and to just go to bed. That's actually what I did last night. Normally, I run preliminary numbers late at night after all the sporting events are over for the day and everybody in my house is in bed. I didn't do that last night. I just turned everything with sports off after the NBA Finals game and I went to bed. And I actually woke up this morning much more refreshed and much more ready to go. And I would advise everybody, if that's the situation that you find yourself in, that would be something that I would advise you to do too. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is again, just to be transparent. If you happen to follow other cappers or other people who would be only bragging and putting stuff in lights when they win and then just ignoring it when they lose, and I see that every day. I see that, or I even see people go on shows, give out plays, they lose, and then they just don't talk about it, but then put winners up in crazy lights. And to each unto their own, but I don't do that. You'll see the updated VIP record every single day here from me. Total honesty, total transparency. That is the only way to go, because if you're not honest with yourself, then chances are you ain't going to get any better. So that in mind, let's talk about some pitching related things that happened over the weekend. So going back to Saturday, and I talked about this on the show. I talked about the lineup that I wanted to see. Even without Jazz Chisholm, Garrett Crochet just dominated. Absolutely dominated from a strikeout perspective. The Yankees did hit him up a little bit, which I kind of expected just because of how often he throws in the zone. And while that would lead to a lot of pitcher counts and a lot of potential strikeouts, which it did because he got 9, they did toss him around a little bit. They did get a few power hits off of him, which at Yankee Stadium, which is more of a hitter's ballpark, which is set up for power, which is especially in a few places set up for power hitters, which the Yankees have, and a guy who throws in the zone a lot. It was pretty inevitable that they were going to catch some pitches and they were going to knock it around the yard a little bit. But that said, Garrett Crochet just absolutely pounded the zone. Yankees take so many pitches early in the zone. Talked exactly what we talked about here on Saturday is exactly what happened. Elsewhere from Saturday, and then I'll just do a little bit of cover from Sunday, is that actually I think that was probably the only one that I really wanted to talk about from Saturday was Garrett Crochet, just because he just absolutely dominated. Absolutely dominated. The other one that I wanted to talk about, even though we didn't talk about him on the show from Saturday, is Jacob deGrom is Jacob deGrom again. So a phenomenal start. I actually thought that there was a potential where, with some of the contact guys the Nationals have, where they can maybe string some hits together because of how often he's pitching in the zone. That was definitely not meant to be. He only needed 81 pitches to go 7 innings, strike out 8, only 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks. Dominating performance. Jacob deGrom is very, very clearly back on my I don't think I can fade this guy list, and I'm going to be looking at him even against some tougher teams for some overs, just because that was very, very impressive. He is looking more and more like the Jacob deGrom of old. The spin and the break on his breaking stuff was up, and his velo was just completely consistent. So Jacob deGrom is a guy who, after some up and down starts to start the year, I said he was kind of on timeout and he's going to have to prove it to me. Well, he did prove it to me. So speaking of a guy who proved it to me, going to Sunday, George Kirby, my Lord, 14 strikeouts for George Kirby in 7 innings. Now, I said this to VIP last night too, but if anybody, if anybody is, so some people may have taken him and they may have won with him, but if anybody is touting on X or anywhere else, it's like I knew that was going to happen. Like, first of all, nobody ever knows that a guy is going to get 14 strikeouts, so stop with that. Second of all, is that if you cashed his over and or the guy you follow or somebody else you follow cashed you over, good, because I'm always happy when other people, when we win and the books don't. But nobody saw that one coming because Kirby was kind of up and down in his first start and really there wasn't even a guarantee that he wasn't going to be on a pitch restriction. But he went full start, 96 pitches, complete domination. I think that we now that wasn't even a prove it. That was a shove it in your face start. So we can consider Kirby fully back, and we will be looking at him going forward. Now, one thing I will say with Kirby is that now that he's back in the fold, he's a guy where, remember, before he got hurt, there were some early indications if he keeps pitching like that, there could be some Cy Young steam. So you have to think that if he's going to be back like that, there will be more than a few dominating starts. The other guy who unfortunately still started off hot, but then kind of going the other way, Spencer Strider. Oh man, everything was set up in the line from the way it looked, from the lineup that they had. If there was ever a time for Spence to dominate, it would have been yesterday against the Giants. Giants didn't put their usual moving day complete poverty lineup out, but it wasn't a fantastic lineup. And for the first 3 or 4 innings, it was good. It was really good for Strider. But then, unfortunately, in the last 3 innings, he just kind of fell apart. Had 4 or 5 strikeouts through 3 innings and then didn't get 1 the rest of his start. Racked up 3 walks and a bunch of hits. Had one guy like Dominic Smith, who has struck out 8 out of 14 times against him lifetime, couldn't get him. Had Chapman, who he's gotten a few times. Chapman actually had a really good game. Couldn't get him. Watching his start, he looked like the Spence of old in the first 3 innings. After that, not so much. His fastball velo still ain't there. Average 96.5, which for a lot of pitchers, they'd be doing cartwheels. But for Spencer, he's got that 97 and 99 mile an hour fastball. He did not touch that. Actually, his fastball only averaged 94.8. And for his slider, it was what it's been this year, but it's still down in velo for the year. So Spencer Strider is a guy who I'm probably going to have to put on timeout for a little bit. Not that I'm going to fade him, but I'm just going to watch, because until he gets that velo back, he was using locations a lot. He actually got 2 or 3 of his Ks were looking. He was having some pretty good locations for his 4-seam fastball. But when you got a guy that only throws 2 pitches, you get and when teams get their timing down 2 or 3 once or twice through the lineup, then it becomes pretty easy to hit, especially if you can't run that 4-seam fastball up in the 98, 99 range, or even Tarek Skubal like 100 to get guys. So Strider is a guy who I would expect to be set at 6.5 pretty regularly. The jump to 7.5 is one of the things that made me think, I guess books think he's going to smack. But he had an okay start, a very okay start. And 4 guys that only throw 2 pitches, because yesterday he threw 51 4-seamers, 37 sliders, and then 1 changeup and 1 curveball. So until he starts throwing those other pitches in regularity to keep hitters off balance, or starts getting his 4-seam fastball velo back, Spencer Strider is going to be incredibly tough to back on a strikeout prop, even against high strikeout teams. Honestly, even against the Rockies and the Angels of the world. Reason is because the line would be elevated because of the opponent, and it's 2 pitches. It's 2 pitches, and it's not an overpowering fastball. So it's we'll see what happens with Strider, but he's back, but he's not the Strider of old for sure. So last thing for this weekend, before we get a shout out to everybody who is joining us in the chat and see what's up in there, is the Rockies. The Rockies have not. Well, actually, two things. One, the Rockies have not taken themselves off of No Under Island yet, but they are becoming a team where I'm kind of, depending on the pitcher and the situation, especially if they're at home, I might just ignore. McGill, unfortunately, walked himself out of contention for strikeouts yesterday. He had four, or actually he struck at the side in the first inning, and he had four in his first 30 pitches, and then only had one in his remaining 50 pitches. Was pulled at 82, and after the fifth inning, and Paul Blackburn pitched in long relief, pitched the rest of the way. So McGill is the kind of guy where it's just going to be really hard to back him on those high lines when he has the potential to walk so many guys. He's walked multiple guys in each of his last, I forget how many starts. And the Rockies do have some guys now, because obviously they're not going anywhere in the postseason. So they do have some young guys that are coming up that, actually watching that yesterday, they actually have some decent contact, and they have some good patience too. And that was always the thing that you could get the Rockies on with strikeouts, is guys who just, I mean, McMahon was still in the lineup yesterday, but like a guy like Stallings, a guy like Doyle, who wasn't in yesterday, a lot of guys that would just hack. And they would just hack. Tovar would hack. He wasn't in yesterday. So a lot of these guys that they're bringing up from the minors, who are probably going to be there for the rest of the year, because obviously their season is not going anywhere. I'm not saying that they're a team to take unders on. That's tough, but they are becoming a team where, if a lot of these young guys are going to be in, I've seen a lot of patience with them the few times that I've watched. I'm going to keep watching, and they're not as automatic of an over as I might think. So this is actually, I forget how many games in a row where, especially against the Mets, where pitchers have failed to hit over props against the Rockies. And early in the year, it was just take over against the Rockies and wipe your hands clean of it. Not so much anymore. Angels are a different story. Red Sox are a different story. But the Rockies, they do have a lot of young guys now coming up who do have some patience. So, all right, that will do it for the review. Let's get on with the chat, and saying, good morning, Roger with us, saying, good morning, Spin. Saturday's amazing for me. Hit two separate ladders, Brown and Crochet. Oh, yeah, Hunter Brown kind of went ballistic. Hunter Brown went crazy, man. They're like I said, after those first three, there's so many strikeouts to be had. So good. Tristan, good morning. Thank you so much for joining. And Andrew, way off on Yama and Logan Webb. Well, what I said on Yama was that it looked like an under, but you also got to remember, I wait for lineups, and the lineup before the game, we actually passed on it in VIP, because lineup before the game, they did make a change. And actually they made two changes, one to the lineup and then one to the they took Scott out of the 9 hole. So we actually just ended up passing on it. And then Logan Webb, I actually remember what I said about Logan Webb. I think I might have said it's hard for me to back an over, but yeah, that's why we win at like 58% of the time and not 100. A lot of metrics said Kirby would kill yesterday. Speak for yourself. Well, what I was more referring to is anybody who said that Kirby would get 14 strikeouts, because all of his lines were set the exact same way that they were set normally. And so there were there were metrics that he would pitch well, but not to get 14 strikeouts. That's what more I was referring to. Roger saying with McGill was cruising with that no hitter and he fell apart. Unfortunately, that's what he can do. He can walk himself out of games. He can walk himself out of games. He can be uncontrollable. And when he loses his control, the thing with McGill is that when he loses his control, some pitchers can go to the dugout, mentally reset, blah, 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 come out. Okay, boom, we're back on track now. McGill is he's so iffy with that. So when he loses his control and starts walking guys, it normally doesn't come back. Cover Kings in the house, welcome in. Thank you for being here. Saying 1 unit on Barrios under 4.5 Ks. Yep, I assume that's what it was. I don't touch Jose Barrios. Jose Barrios is on my Rodon list this year now, the list of people that I just don't even touch. So I'll leave that up there in case anybody wants to follow that. But I won't be talking about Jose Barrios. I have no analysis on Jose Barrios. I don't care what Jose Barrios does. I hope he pitches. I hope that it hits for anybody that takes it. But it's been way too many times with that guy where he's been so schizo. So I'm just not touching him. I'm not having anything to do with him. All right. Well, then, yep. If you've had a good success with him, go ahead. But he is a guy where he's got a lot of volatility about him from a strikeout perspective. But yeah, I'm just not. I just have no interest in. Roger saying, yeah, don't bring up Rodon. Yeah, he everything was there. Everything was there. An elevated line, a team with horrible zone contact. There were at least four, maybe five chasers in that lineup. But oh well. Yeah, he and there were also two lefties who he was supposed to just dominate and give up home runs to on 2 strike counts. So yay. Tristan saying he looked good early. He did look good early. Not so much from a strikeout perspective, but he did look good pitching early. Yeah, Cover Kings, yes, Trader went out and died. He did. And I firmly believe the reason why is because he's only going fastball slider right now. And his fastball could be used as a separate out, as a primary out pitch, with the slider being used as a secondary out pitch. When the fastball had the 96 average velo and he could run it up to 99, he can't do that anymore. He just can't. His fastball, I think the minimum on his fastball was like 92 or something like that. And Spencer Strider, that's just unheard of. So then what I think's happening is when you're a 2-pitch pitcher and you get twice through the lineup or 1.5 times through the lineup, I mean, even the worst MLB swinging teams these guys talk to each other. They obviously have coaches watching and saying, here's what to look for, here's when to swing here. And mentally they get some timing stuff. Yeah. So I'm just going to have to wait. I'm going to have to wait till, and I'll just to reiterate, and yeah, Cover King saying, I felt like it was his time. The line said it was his time. So don't kick yourself for that. The line said it was his time. Everything was elevated yesterday for him on the road, which was kind of suspicious. But you had cover. So you have. He's going to need to do one of two things in his next start to make me want to pay attention to him again. Number one is to throw his curveball or his changeup more. So he's got a third pitch that his hitters have to pay attention to. Or number two, which is less likely for me, to get his velo back, to get his velo, to be able to run that fastball consistently up to 97 to 99. So, all right, that is on with the business of that. That's for the business of the day. We will talk about 3 pitchers today in chronological order of how they when they start, and and then if there's any other ones you want to talk about, you want information about, please go ahead to put them in the comments, and we'll get to them at the end. So the first one is Zach Wheeler. Wheels is striking guys out at a 32.1% clip and walking guys at a 6.1% rate against the Cubs. This game goes at 6:45 p.m. and we have an over of 6.5 at a -138, under at plus money. This is right about what I expected the line to be at. So right now, looking at the Cubs projected lineup, which is probably going to be their real lineup, right now we are looking at 4 lefties, I'm sorry, and 5 righties. Now, with the amount of times that this lineup has faced Wheeler, there is some ample history here. So, for all the talk, and I've said this before, about how low the Cubs overall team strikeout percentages is, you have to break it down hitter by hitter. This is also why we wait for lineups before we do anything official, because the Cubs lineup is very top and bottom heavy when it comes to both contact, strikeouts, and even past history against a lot of guys that they face. So Wheeler is no exception. So we have Dansby Swanson, who is always a high strikeout candidate, and he has faced Wheeler 15 or 45 times and struck out 15 times. That's a very high strikeout rate. We also have multiple other guys who have faced him double digits. So Nico Horner, for example, who's a very high contact guy and a very low strikeout candidate, has struck out 1 in 11 times. All of these things match up with what their swing metrics and profile look like. Ian Happ is in the middle somewhere, struck out 4 out of 11 times. You see where I'm going with this. And then a few other guys just have a handful of plate appearances. Now, the one guy that is probably going to be in that he has faced 6 times, which 6 is kind of my bare minimum to think, okay, like 6 times, it's not necessarily that I'm going to like take it as the word, but it's something that I pay attention to. If a guy's only faced somebody, if it's like, oh, he struck him out every time he's faced them, and it's like 2 of 2 or 3 of 3, could have just been a bad game. Could have been a bad game, could have been a bad situation. It could have been where the guy just wasn't pitching that or wasn't hitting that well that day, whatever the case might be. 1 game is not enough for me. 6 after 2 games, yeah, that's when I start paying attention. So Seiya Suzuki has struck out 3 out of 6. Kyle Tucker, who's also projected to be in, has struck out 1 of 8. Now, with Wheeler, because of the percentage of time that he does spend in the zone, which is 52.9, one of the higher rates among pitchers going today, is always look at Wheeler for zone swing and zone contact, because Wheeler allows a 76.8% zone contact. That's significantly under pitcher average. I've talked about this many times, is that how if you're 82.1 is the pitcher average for MLB. If you're under 80, you're doing good. If you're under 78, you're doing really good. If you're under 75, you're doing phenomenal. And if you're Tarek Skubal, you're out of this world, because he's down by near 70. So Zach Wheeler is at 76.8, which is an incredibly solid number. So you have to look at zone. And when you look at this lineup for the Cubs, yeah, I want to see the amount of zone swing, and I also want to see the amount of zone contact. So taking it 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 through 9, we have Happ, Tucker, and Suzuki. So Happ swings average in the zone, makes average contact on the road against Wheeler, and he also already has multiple strikeouts. So I would put him as either anywhere from a half up to 1, probably at like a 0.75. So meaning that there's a decent chance that he'll strike out. Kyle Tucker makes a great contact and does not have good history against Wheeler. He can't be really counted on for a strikeout. Seiya Suzuki, however, can, because he takes pitches in the zone a lot. He swings almost 10% under league average in the zone. While he makes contact slightly above league average, this is Zach Wheeler we're talking about. That because his slightly above average is against every pitcher. And Zach Wheeler is not every pitcher. So you got to put Suzuki down for 1, especially with the 3 out of 6 Ks that he already has. Pete Crow Armstrong, I always have to mark for a strikeout for any pitcher that can get guys for swing and miss, pitcher that can make guys whiff. Crow Armstrong has one of the highest swing rates in all of Major League Baseball. He swings at, just so you know, the MLB average for swing rate on all pitches is 47.4%. Crow Armstrong is 61.6. No other Cubs player is over 54%, and I believe that is a top 5, top 6 mark in baseball. Now, Crow Armstrong did face Wheeler once, didn't strike out. Again, 1 game, you can't put too much in that. I'm still putting Crow Armstrong down for 1. So from these top 4, I have 2 for sure, and probably 3 if you count Hap. So we have 3 of the 7 that we need. Next, we're going to go to Carson Kelly, and Michael Busch is projected to be in tonight. If Michael Busch is in, I have to put him down for 1. He does swing above league average in the zone. His contact is just very, very okay. But the big thing with him is that Wheeler also does a decent job of making guys chase. His chase contact is all the way down to 42%. So I do have to put Busch down for 1 if he does happen to be in. Likewise, I am probably going to put Carson Kelly down for at least a 0.5, probably 1, because his zone contact is just overall kind of average. He has only faced Wheeler twice, but still between those 2, we're probably getting 1, maybe 1.5. So now we're up to 4.5, 5. Then Dansby Swanson, Nico Horner, Matt Shaw. Dansby Swanson, I've already said he struck out 15 times against Wheeler already. His zone contact is blah. So that's a 1 for sure. Nico Horner is a very high contact guy. Probably won't get many from him. And so now we're at 6. So now it comes down to a couple things. Number 1, Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw has a 79% zone contact and has also never faced Wheeler. That's not going to work. I got him down for 1 as well. So I'm coming up with 7 if this is the projected lineup and if Busch is in tonight. Now, if Busch is not in and they do run, then they run Justin Turner. That changes things considerably. And that's why we always wait for a lineup, because if they do happen to run Justin Turner has almost over a 90% zone contact rate. He is not in the projected lineup on RotoWire right now, but he has only struck out against Wheeler 3 out of 11 times. So Busch and Turner are the 2 that you're going to have to look for, because my guess is going against the Phillies, they would probably have the rest of their lineup exactly as it is. If it's Turner, then the 7 becomes a little iffy, because he's going to have to get one of those guys I said for 1 twice. So for example, he'd have to get Suzuki twice. He'd have to get Crow Armstrong, Kelly, maybe Dansby Swanson, which he could get twice. This is, again, why we always wait for lineups, is because with this lineup right now, I see 7. If Justin Turner is in for Busch, or if somehow they happen to reorganize their DH spot and he's in for another guy like Dansby Swanson and they rotate things around, etc., 7 becomes a little interesting, and it becomes something that it would depend on what the juice is. If I can get it at plus money, I probably would want to do it. But breaking this down with this projected lineup, I come up with 7 with a possibility of up to 8 or 9. What I also see, though, is if it's Justin Turner in tonight, it becomes a little more iffy, because Turner has very good K history against Wheeler, meaning like he doesn't strike out, and he also has an exceptional zone contact, which is what Wheeler thrives on. So as it stands right now, it's a lean on the over, going with the projected lineup, which both projected lineups that I see, one on Swish Analytics and one on RotoWire, does have Busch in and Turner out. I don't know if that's going to be the final composition. I don't know if they're going to switch things around. They are just coming off of a series in Detroit. So not sure, but that's the one you want to look for. But the guys that you want in, if you want to roll with an over here, you want to roll with you guys you want to see. Hap is fine. You want to see Suzuki. You want to see Crow Armstrong. You want to see Bush. You want to see Dansby Swanson, and you want to see Matt Shaw. Guys that I think will be in anyway. But if you really want to like be rewarded here with a lineup, Kyle Tucker would be one. Nico Horner would be another one. If either one of those two guys are out and Turner is out, this becomes a very, very easy over. I would also expect the juice on it to shoot up probably 20 to 30 cents, if not go up to a 7.5. But I'm guessing because of the Cubs' overall metrics, this will stay at a 6.5. This is just my hypothesis. And if anything, they'll just keep juicing the over here. So, but the big one to pay attention to, because it is significant from a strikeout perspective, would be, is it going to be Michael Bush or is it going to be Justin Turner? Are they going to go lefty or are they going to go righty? Justin Turner is such a high contact guy. Bush is also a lefty, can plays first base. So both projected lineups do have Bush. We'll see what they do. All right, moving on to pitcher number 2. First thing, I saw Eric join before. Eric, welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you, my friend. And we have Shane Baz. Striking guys out at 21.5% and walking guys at 8.2%. He goes to Boston tonight at 7:10, and we do have an over 5.5 at plus money and an under 5.5 at minus 146. First things first is that it's just so hard to take an under on the Red Sox because they have so many guys that where their zone contact rate is just absolutely hideously poor. But that said, strikeouts have not been kind to Baz lately, because the last time he got 6 strikeouts was May 13th at Toronto, of all places, who is one of the highest contact teams in Major League Baseball. And then he's failed to get it against that same Toronto team, Houston, Texas, and Miami, with 2 of those teams being very high contact and 2 of them being rather iffy. So it hasn't really been a strikeout fest for Baz. I mean, he's only averaging 5 strikeouts a game. In his last 10, he's only averaging 4.4. The elevation on the line is, I'm certain, related to the opponent. Now, the other thing that's a little interesting here about his line is that his outs have been at 17.5 most of the season, and he has recorded 8 or 17 plus outs in 3 of his last 4 starts. However, they moved him down. They moved him down to a 16.5. They also, his hits have hovered between 4.5 and 5.5. Those are up at 5.5. And it's a bettable 5.5 both ways. They seem to be encouraging action on the under here, which I never like if I want to look at an over for a pitcher. So there's a few things in this line that tell me that this might not be the rosiest start in the world for Shane Baz. Now, if we look at the Red Sox projected lineup, which is right now 4 lefties and 5 lefties, 4 righties, because Toro, I'm sure, will bat left-handed. We see that there's a little bit of past history. Nobody with more than 10 plate appearances against him. And the guys that do, it's a mishmash of strikeout history. You don't have really anything that would give me like pause and be like, oh wow, like past history says that this guy's going to K. Even I mean, the only guy really is Devers, but that's not that surprising. Devers has struck out 4 out of 8 times and has obviously for parts of the year at least been a K machine. So that's something to keep in mind. Duran has struck out 2 of 9 times, so that's something to pay a little bit of attention to. But other than that, you got a bunch of 2s and 3s, not a whole lot of stuff that you can draw here. So with Shane Baz, it is just like with Wheeler. It is always about zone swing, zone contact. Reason being, Baz does spend 54.3% of his time in the zone. That is the highest, I believe, among all regular pitchers who are starting today. His zone contact is above pitcher average at 84.7. Part of that is a byproduct from spending so much time in the zone. The other thing with Boz is that he's really only using three pitches. He does throw the slider in every now and then to righties, but really, four-seamer knuckle curve account for almost 80% of his pitches. I talked about this before with Spencer Strider, is that if you're going to be a two-pitch pitcher, which to me, if you're throwing two pitches 80% of the time or more, you're not a pure two-pitch pitcher, but you're on the verge of being a two-pitch pitcher, which is interesting too, because his changeup, which he throws almost exclusively to lefties, does have a 30.6% whiff rate, which is the highest among any of his pitches. His four-seamer and his knuckle curve, the rest of the league has seemed to caught up with. Only 22.4 and 20% whiff rates respectively to those pitches. Now, going back and looking at some of his most recent starts, is that he's throwing these at roughly the same rate, but the problem has become in each of his last two starts, the spin rate on his knuckle curve has been down to the tune of 50 to 70 RPMs. Now, when you talk about RPMs for spin, and for those that don't know, that's how I got my name, because I did a whole bunch of analysis and studies on this on the effect of spin rate in relation to strikeouts. Is Boz's knuckle curve is averaging about 2,700 RPMs of spin. So just real quick, what that means is RPMs, revolutions per minute, and what it also means is that if you threw the ball and it would go at the rate that it's thrown at for 1 minute and without any interruption, obviously the catcher's glove or gravity or whatever, it's an estimation of how many times the ball would complete a full rotation. So 2,700 in a minute is pretty damn good. And that's actually one of the higher spin rates in baseball for knuckle curves. Now, when you normally, if you get about a 20 RPM drop, it doesn't hurt you too much. 40, it can, but when you get 50 or more, especially when you're talking over 100 RPMs of drop in your spin rate, what ends up happening is, because when you actually throw the ball with spin, what it does is it creates a sharpness of a break, because the ball is rotating in the direction and at the spin you throw it, and it makes it harder to hit and harder to make contact with. So when your spin is down even by that little of an amount, the hitter's eye is able to see it. This is why, real quick before we get back to Boz, this is why MLB cracked down on that sticky stuff 2 years ago. And the reason why they did it wasn't necessarily that the sticky stuff made the ball spin more. What it did was it made the pitcher able to grip the ball tighter. And when you can grip the ball tighter and you don't have things natural like oil on your hand and sweat, etc., to not give you a tighter grip. If the ball's like anchored to your hand and then you force it off, it forces it off with an incredible amount more spin. So you saw RPMs close to 3,000 or more for some of these breaking pitches, which just made it almost impossible for hitters to hit. So for those of you watching for the first time, that's how I got my name, because I started studying that after they cracked down on it. And what I found was that a 50 RPM in spin would cause a slight decrease in the potential for strikeouts. 75 RPMs, obviously bigger. So anything over 100 though can drop your average strikeouts, especially if it's a pitch that you throw over 40% of the time, as Boz does, is that, or over 30% of the time, I'm sorry, as Boz can, is that it can cause up to a 1 to 1.7 K drop in your overall strikeout average. Just those little minute changes can be huge. So Boz's spin has been down. His velo was normal, but his four-seam fastball has not really been an out pitch. One of the reasons why is that it does only average 24.58 of RPMs of spin. Some of the guys that use four-seam fastballs as an out pitch, they can either do one of two things. They can either run it up to 99 or 100, which Boz can run it up close to there every now and then, or they have close to 2,700, 2,800 RPMs of spin. Boz is only at 2,458. That's not enough. That's not enough for the strikeout for the four-seam fastball. So that's what leads to the whiff rate of only 20%. Now, all that aside, with Boz, it's always about zone contact. So we're going to break the hitters down again. You have Duran, Devers, and Abreu, who probably, I'm sure, will be 1 through 3. Duran doesn't have the greatest K history against Boz, but does have over league average in zone contact. You can probably put him down for a half because Boz has gotten him a couple times. Rafael Devers, who has been a little bit better lately, but his zone contact is 70.9%. He'll strike out. You have no choice but to put him for 1. And Weiler Abreu, who has faced Boz 7 times. Boz has got him twice. He swings way above average in the zone, but does make really good contact. So you can probably average that out for about a half. So between the top 3, I got Devers for 1, Duran and Abreu for a half. So you probably got 2 from the top 3. Going down to Narvaez, Mayer, and Toro. Narvaez swings about average, makes contact about average. Toro has always been a great zone contact guy. You're probably not going to get a whole lot from there. He also hasn't had a K against Boz in three plate appearances. Not something to put too much stock in, but it is there. And Mayer, since coming up and getting some more regular plate appearances, has been ultra good at zone contact, making it at about 88%. So between these 3, I probably have a half, maybe you get 1. So if you got 2 from the top, and maybe you get 1.5 from those 3, now you're at 3.5, maybe. Then the last 3: Story, Campbell, and Rafaela. Story, zone contact under league average. He could be a potential strikeout candidate. Same thing with Rafaela and same thing with Campbell. They're all right about at the same rate. So between those 3, I probably come up with 1.5, maybe 2. Where I go with this is all of this adds up to 5. And so that's where I see Boz and I want to get to 6. And I think that there's some lineups the Red Sox can put out there that get us to 6. But when you look at some of the zone contact, when you look at the fact that you do have Abreu, you have Toro, you have Mayer, and those would be the big ones. So you have 3 spots that could be potential dead spots. And only guys that I'm seeing as like ones for sure. Devers, I can see as 1 for sure. I can see Narvaez as 1 for sure. And then probably 1 between Story, Campbell, Rafaela, maybe 2. So again, I'm coming up with 5. I think the line is set the way that it should be. It's tempting to want to just blindly just fade the Red Sox, especially at plus money, especially for a pitcher who there's a little bit of past history behind here. But I'm seeing that if this is the lineup they run, which I'm not 100% convinced that it's going to be, but I still think that there's a few other guys that could be in tonight. And the guys that I would not want to see, or the guys I would want to see out if you're looking at taking an over here, would be Duran, Abreu, Mayer. Well, Duran would be fine. Abreu, Mayer, and Toro would be the 3 that I would probably not want to see in. So as much as I want to tell you to go bet Boz on an over here, I don't know if I can get there. I think 5 is possible, so maybe pair that with something. But this is a guy who has just been allowing more and more zone contact each time that he pitches, and he throws it in the zone. And when his primary breaking pitch is losing spin in each of his last 2 starts, it just doesn't add up. So I understand why now in some spots, like on FanDuel, you have minus 146 for an under, you have minus 140 for an under at BetMGM. You got like the juice is going up on the under, And I would suspect if it's something approximating this lineup, you're probably going to see that happen too. The drop in outs to set to 16 and a half is a little interesting. Part of it could be because Beaky's on the road, but it's interesting that a guy who has been at 17 and a half most of the year and has recorded 17 plus outs in 3 of his last 4 starts has all of a sudden gets dropped when he's facing a team that by the numbers there should be a lot of potential for success. So I have not decided what I'm going to do with Boz yet. What I would tell you is if you want in any capacity, I'd probably drop it to 5 and pair it with something else. All right, it's Sale day. So the last one we're going to talk about here is Christopher Sale. Chris Sale striking guys out at 30.9% and walking guys at a 7.4% clip. He gets the Brewers tonight at 740. And Sale's line is definitely indicative of how he's been pitching lately. And his line is set at a very, very solid 7.5. His outs are set at a very, very solid 18.5. Hits and earned runs, especially for Sale on the road. Hits were dropped. Earned runs have gone between 1.5 and 2.5. They are at a very, very bettable 1.5 tonight. So there are a lot of things in this line that says Sale could have himself a night. So what do we need for Sale to have a night? Well, first of all, it's really, really nice if we do have teams that, you're looking for a lack of zone contact and you're looking for guys that chase. I don't even really care what their chase contact is, because when you chase a Chris Sale slider when he's got it working, yeah, chances are you're going to whiff. So Sale spends 51.1% of his time in the zone. That's above league average. He also makes 80.7% zone contact, which is under pitcher average. Now, the other thing here, what I said with the chase, is that if you chase against this man, he is allowing 43.7%, which almost 14% under pitcher average. It's one of the best chase marks in all of baseball. The other thing that you want to look for with Sale, and that I actually looked before I even decided to put him on as a pitcher on here, is you want to look for his 4-seam fastball velo, because Sale is like a better version of Kevin Gausman in that they throw different pitches, but when Gausman's fastball is working in that 95 to 96 average range, he can get strikeouts because he can use it as an out pitch. Sale is the exact same way, because in his last few starts, Sale's a 2-pitch pitcher. He throws a slider and he throws a 4-seamer. It's the same thing I talked about with Spencer Strider, only Sale has been running up his 4-seam fastball velo. So 4-seam fastball velo for Sale, averaging about 95 for the year, and he has run it up close to 99. He did this against the Diamondbacks, and he went exclusively 4-seamer and slider. So when you chase the slider, the chances are you're going to whiff. The slider, the velo was up, spin was up slightly, but the spin on his 4-seamer was up by over 70 RPMs. So I see good things when I see all of this with Sale, because if he's not able to run that 4-seamer up there, if he's only able to get in like the 93 to 94 range, then he becomes almost like a 1-pitch pitcher, because he does have a changeup, but that doesn't have a good whiff rate. He doesn't use it very often. I mean, really, you got to think 4-seamer and slider. So the fastball velo is what I really wanted to see, and have seen that. Now we look at the Brewers lineup here, which as of right now is projected to be 3 lefties and 6 righties. One of those is Sal Frelick, which I really hope that the Brewers go straight analytics, because then that would mean that you're going to take your highest contact guy out, but they always bat Frelick against lefties, so I would be shocked if they didn't. Same thing with Yelich. Bryce Terang might not be in tonight. We'll see what they do, because there's a slight discrepancy in projected lineups here. It's possible that they would bat Montecero. It's possible that Haas would be in. from a strikeout perspective, I would really prefer that they are. But you look at this past history. Nobody passed 6 plate appearances, so we can't put a whole lot of stock into that. So we'll go to the overall numbers and we'll look at what is their zone contact and how often do they chase. Those are the 2 keys that I'm looking for with Chris Sale. So we take 1 through 3 and we go Chourio, Contreras, and Yelich. So Chourio makes decent zone contact, but chases a ton, like a lot. League average is 27.9. He chases at 40%. It's one of the highest amounts on the team. You do that against this guy, you're striking out. And even though Chourio has only struck out 1 out of 6 times, I still, with the amount of chase, I have to consider that there's probably going to be a strikeout at 0.75 to 1 for Chourio. Contreras makes below average zone contact, doesn't chase decent contact. That's probably going to average out to about a half, a 50-50 shot. And you also have Christian Yelich, who makes contact under league average in the zone, and chases at league average and makes terrible chase contact. He also has faced Sale's also gotten him once out of 4 times. I still have to put him in that 0.75 to 1 range, just because both of those indicators tell me that there could be a strikeout there. So between these top 3, what I have is I have 2 to 2.5. Next, we go to Hoskins and Daz Cameron. Frelick is after that. I'm not counting Frelick because he's a dead spot no matter what. And Sale has not gotten him in the 3 times he's faced him. So Frelick could be a dead spot. So we go to Hoskins and Cameron. And remember, we're at about 2.5 right now between the top 3. So Hoskins, Cameron. Hoskins does not chase, makes contact below league average in the zone. That's probably a half. Daz Cameron chases a decent amount and makes contact right about league average in the zone. You probably can put him down for a strikeout and Hoskins for a half. So we take our 2.5 from above, we add 1.5 to that. Now we're at 4. Frelick being a dead spot, Durbin, Turang, and Ortiz to close it out. And we have Durbin, who actually is a high contact guy, Turang, who chases about league average, makes contact about league average, and Ortiz, who chases above league average as well. So the interesting fact about this is that based on the zone contact here, I'm coming up with about 6, but the line is set at 7.5. And that is very, very interesting to me, because normally when I run these, and I normally run them before the line even comes out and then compare, is that it leads me to believe that I'm not 100% convinced this will be the exact lineup. I'm also wondering if this is where Sale is going to just go out and absolutely shove, because there's things in the line like the hits allowed where there is. He's also, when you're talking about, he's also hit this number. He's hit 8+ strikeouts against some pretty decent contact teams lately, like the Diamondbacks. Hit 6 against the Padres, hit 8 against Philadelphia. Boston's terrible contact, but he hit 8 against them. So by the numbers, this does not add. This adds up to 6, maybe up to 6.5, but we need 8, and it's juiced on both sides. So the fact that his hits are down and his outs are very at an 18.5, and his hit and his earned runs are at a very, very bettable over 1.5, tells me that perhaps this is a situation where Sale has a much better start than he does a strikeout start, because he is on the road. So what I'm looking to potentially do with Sale is also, because if you watch the Brewers series against the Padres this weekend, it was just like offensive anemic. In the Brewers actually scored 4 runs in the entire 3-game series, and had 2 games where they scored 0. Now their pitching staff pitched well, but they did have 2 games where they didn't score. And it wasn't like they were facing, they went up against Randy Vasquez. They went up against Stephen Kolek And yesterday they faced Ryan Bergert. So those three starters and San Diego bullpen, which is it's okay, had held them to 4 runs in 3 games. So where I'm actually looking to back Sale is I'm actually looking to back Sale on either his hits under 4.5 right now. You can get it -130, or I'm looking to back him on potentially something with his earned runs, because under 1.5 is +100. That's, to me, is what the line is speaking a little bit more than the strikeouts, because you do have a lot of guys in this Brewers lineup. I think it's 5 or even 6 of 9 that do swing above league average in the zone and make contact. And if Sale's going to spend that 51% of the time in the zone, there is a lot of potential for some weak contact balls to be put in play. So I'm not super jazzed to bet on Sale from a strikeout perspective. What I am looking for is for him to have a pretty decent start. Also, because when you look at this Brewers lineup here against the slider, and you look at what their hard hit rate is against sliders this year, the guys that are in the projected lineup, you see some really, really ugly numbers. So like hard hit percentage, like Caleb Durbin is at 15%. Contreras, who will be in, is at 26%. Hoskins at 30%. And then you look at some of their batting averages against that same pitch and some of the advanced metrics, and it's just not very pretty at all. I talked about Terang is in the lineup. He's batting 184. Ortiz is batting 200. Contreras is 208. And all of these guys' slugging percentages against a slider, against any slider, not just a Chris Sales and not a Chris Sales slider, are all under 300. So you have over half the lineup, actually almost 2/3 of the lineup, that are under 250 against a slider this year. And so that's what leads me to believe, especially with just how anemic the Brewers offense was all weekend, and just getting shut down by just bums, is that now they get Chris Sale. They get Chris Sale, who's pitching very well. So to me, there's a lot more potential for him to have a great start from a earned runs and hits allowed perspective. Maybe he gets 6, maybe he gets 7 strikeouts, but that could be driven off of how many innings he is projected to go. So that's kind of my breakdown for Sale. Roger saying, I always thought you got your name because of the band Spin Doctors. You like to talk for hours. I love the band. I do like the band. I do like the band. And my wife actually says that her theme song for me is Little Miss Can't Be Wrong. So we joke about that one. But no, I do like Spin Doctors, the band. No, that is actually how I got my name, was studying the spin of baseball back when they cracked down on the sticky stuff. But anyways, so officially for the show, I would go Chris Sale under 4.5 hits allowed for probably a half unit. I think if you were feeling ambitious, you can probably also take the Brewers' first 5 team total under as well. I'm not 100 as convinced about the strikeouts as I am that the combination of the Brewers just offense lately, poor metrics against the slider, and the way Sales lines are set is that he's probably going to have a pretty good overall start, even if he doesn't strike out 8 guys. All right. And we got a few other guys. We can get to other looks and totals. So we got thoughts on Merrill Kelly and Dustin May. Yes, I do, actually. So Merrill, will go one by one. Merrill Kelly does get the Mariners tonight, and the one thing with Merrill Kelly, actually with the Mariners, is that their zone contact is, because they have like 2/3 of their lineup almost every single night that has zone contact under average. My problem with trying to back Merrill Kelly, and I'm going to see what the lineup's going to look like, is that he does allow 85% zone contact, which is kind of up there. It's actually one of the highest marks of his career, second only to last year. So The Mariners also, if we get four guys that chase above league average, or four or more, I can probably get behind it. He's obviously been pitching very well lately because he's gotten St. Louis, Washington, and Atlanta for 8.66. Colorado. I mean, he's on a roll from a strikeout perspective. So against Seattle, I would have maybe expected something a little different than a 5.5, basically at even money. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's a pick me line or it's a potential trap line, but it is interesting that a guy who has had 6 or more strikeouts in 5 straight starts and now gets a team that is really struggling or has struggled all year and has guys that struggled all year to make contact in the zone now. And Merrill spends about league average in the zone that we get a 5.5. But what I would probably be looking at more for him, just because of how well he's been pitching, is I'd probably be looking at maybe his hits under 5.5, and maybe earn runs. I'm not 100% sure. So, and let's see, we got Dustin May. Dustin May, they dropped him. They dropped him to a 4.5, and his outs are up. But with Dustin May, he spends a lot of time in the zone. Padres are one of the best zone contact teams, so it's maybe an under for me. I'm probably going to pass on him entirely. It's interesting because his overall his outs are up and his hits are up, which can tell me that potentially he's going to go deeper in the game and maybe not strike guys out. So if you're looking at anything, I would probably look at an under on May, especially if you can get it at a reasonable price. You still can on BetMGM -130, but FanDuel's at -154. That's gross. I wouldn't pay that. But if you're going to do it, go a little bit smaller. And Roger asking, do you think Emerson Hancock stays under 3.5 versus the Diamondbacks? He certainly can. Emerson Hancock is, I think is his zone contact percentage. Yeah, I mean, he spends 52.1% of the time in the zone. Zone contact 83.4%. So the Diamondbacks do have a lot of guys that make great contact in the zone. So if you're gonna play that one, it would be under 3.5 would be mine. And good morning to Trying to Rob FanDuel. Good morning. Thank you for being with us. Andrew saying Sale is going for 8+. And sometimes you got to throw the data out the door. We might have to agree to disagree on that one. I think that when my personal belief and just different philosophies is that when the data says one thing, is that I do look at lines, and I do look at lines that don't make sense, and do look to because Sale at 7.5 against this Brewers team with their zone contact doesn't make the most sense in the world. So yes, it does appear like they're saying that they think he gets 8, but as I said, also could mean that he's going to go say 7 innings, because the outs are set at 18.5. If he goes 7 innings, it's only 1K per inning. But across this lineup, if this is who they run, because again, the books could know something that they're going to run, a poverty lineup, or maybe they bench Frelick, or maybe they bench somebody else. That's why it's just hard for me, and why I have a personal rule that I don't take any strikeout prop before lineups come out. We've seen it before over and over and over again, where we're running off of projected. We say, okay, yeah, they always run this guy against a lefty, and then all of a sudden the lineup has changed, and then you got a guy who is supposed to bat in the 7 or 8 hole batting in the 2 hole. So if the lineup is listed exactly as projected, which I'll reiterate, I'm not 100% convinced that it's going to be, I also wouldn't be surprised if, given how anemic the Brewers offense was all weekend, that maybe they do something to try to shake it up. Because when you get swept by getting swept by the Padres isn't the headline there. Getting swept by those 3 trash pitchers and just putting up they didn't strike out much, but they also didn't put up any runs. Putting up 4 runs in 3 games is the headline. It's possible that the Brewers put out a different line, change it up lineup, which would change things considerably. And yeah. No. I appreciate the comments. Like I totally appreciate differential diagnosis. So if anybody ever watched House MD, it's one of my favorite shows. And during the differential diagnosis, it's basically people throw things back and forth to each other, and there's opposing viewpoints. I don't want anybody to just blindly say, okay, well, Spin Doc says it, so it must be 100% true. I like the debate, Andrew. So don't get me wrong, man. Like I love it. I love the debate, and I love when people give me things to think about and me things to go look at. So Kid Keon saying, sorry, one more. No, this is what this segment's for. What about Nick Pivetta? Oh man, Nick Pivetta. Well, if we're reading into the lines say that it might be a rockier go for Mr. Pivetta. So for a guy that's had 7-7-8-5 against on the road against a divisional opponent who has seen him well, he goes back home and he gets the Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers are a team that can get attacks on them for runs, for hits, for like their team total, just because of they're a public team and who they are. Not so much for strikeouts. We don't usually see taxes on the Dodgers for strikeouts, and they dropped Pivetta to a 5.5 and a very bettable 5.5 at that. So I need to dig on this one, and I need to see. I'm going to have to dig a lot more on Pivetta. I actually put him as a potential under, but to earmark to take a really, really deep dive on. The other reason why I say this is because his strikeouts are down, but his hits and his hits are down. Earned runs being up isn't that big of a deal against the Dodgers. That happens a lot. But the drop to 5.5 after he's had some really good pitching performances, and over his last 10 is averaging almost 7 strikeouts a game. So to drop him to a very, very bettable 5.5. Again, I'm not going to say it's a pick me line, but in a game that's going to be very public, because Dodgers Padres is always very public, I'm seeing some things that might make me think he won't get a ton of strikeouts, but I got to dig on that one a little bit more. All right. Let's see. Any other looks and sides? I know it's a short day, so from a money line and from a totals perspective, the ones, if you want to bet on money lines today, the two that scream the most to me are the Athletics at plus 135 and the Reds at plus 140. Those are the two that are kind of screaming to me the most. I think the Blue Jays kind of, but betting on a road team at minus 102 and against another decent team doesn't really like it's a fair price, but I guess it just doesn't interest me a whole ton. But those are the two from a value perspective, the Athletics and the Reds, plus 135, plus 140. From a totals perspective, the Athletics and the Angels under 9 has some value, I think. The Brewers, it's chalky, it's public, but the Brewers team total under, just to keep rolling it, because if they can't get runs against Kolick and Briegert and whoever the hell else it was, I'm still not convinced they're going to touch up Chris Sale. So the Brewers team total under has some value to me. I also, it's interesting because the way that it's set up is it does look like there's a little bit of value on the under 8 in the Dodgers Padres game, which might lead me to believe that both guys can have good starts and maybe not get strikeouts. That's not one I'm actively looking at. The Brewers team total under and the Athletics and Angels under 9 are the ones. All right. That should do it. I think that should wrap up for the business. One last time, free VIP contest day 2. It's day 2. So remember, all you have to do, the show posts one from me, one from Sosa, from our accounts, like and repost. Each one gets you 1 entry. So each one gets you 1 entry. And you can, for a maximum of 4 per day, maximum of 16 for the whole contest, live on Thursday. I will draw all the names. I'll draw 10 names, and each of those 10 will win a free VIP subscription to Win the Day VIP with all of my top plays, top analysis, post lineup release stuff for 2 weeks for you. All right. That should do it for the day. I know we went on for a little bit longer today, but I love the debate. I love the commentary. I love all the stuff in there. I'm the kind of person where, for me, it's all about getting better and getting better at beating the books. So whether that's something that I think of, whether that's something that somebody else thinks of, whether it's something that somebody challenges me, I'm all for all of it. So with that in mind, thank you to Roger. Thank you to Tristan. Thank you to Andrew. Thank you for the analysis, everything. Thank you to Cover Kings. Thank you to, I think Tristan already said, but thank you to Eric. Thank you to Kid Keon, trying to rob FanDuel. Thank you all. I appreciate you all very much. Thank you for being here. If you haven't yet, please like and share, subscribe, etc. Also, make sure, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the Daily Bread Network on YouTube to get all of our best content. Best of luck with whatever you are tailing and whatever you're on tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. And then also, in addition to the contest, I'll also have a whole bunch more stuff for the NBA Finals. All right. Thank you, everybody. We out. Back tomorrow.